All right, it is now 9 o'clock. We're gonna go ahead and call this special meeting of the budget workshop to order. If you would, please, everyone stand. This is a notice of special session, budget workshop, Angelina County Commissioners Court. Let the record reflect that all the members of the court are present. It is 9 a.m. Friday, August the 14th, 2020. If you would, please follow Commissioner Pitts as he leads us in the opening prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you once again this morning, Lord. Thank you for this day and the many blessings that you give us, Lord. We just pray that you be with us with all the decisions that's made here today, Lord, and that they'll be pleasing to you and be in the best interest of our constituents, Lord. We just pray for our nation, our state and county, Lord. We just ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. And if you would, follow Commissioner Cheshire as we honor the U.S. flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And follow Commissioner Harrison as we honor the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Be seated. And we will go ahead and get started with the budget workshop. Has everyone got the latest and greatest from Janice up on the computer? All right. All right. And if you will notice, with the last changes, there's several different options. Now, did everybody get these new sheets that the tax assessor sent out
I think,
with the three different?
no, I did.
Okay, all right, well, basically, rather than confusing everything, that's, she's actually got her software finally okay, working, and everything is, now she's done sheets on all the different proposals, so, all right. Since you were the last one that, Commissioner Pitts, that made the request for the 10% across the board, why don't you lead us off, because actually, that 10% across the board response has come back from across the county, and we've had total change of about 65.
It depends on which tax rate you use, so, I mean,
Okay.
that's-
Well,
that has to be explained as you choose a tax rate, so.
okay.
Well, I'll just say this, number one, I think the little departments give big and the big departments give little, quite honestly. But all that being said, it's obvious that we're not gonna make it back to the no new revenue rate.
Okay.
We've cut and cut and cut, and that was my hope. And I'll be quite honest, I was hoping that enough would come in to even start looking at a raise again for the employees, but it just ain't gonna happen.
No.
And that being said, the little departments that's cut, I'm afraid they've cut till we may get in trouble on some of them. And
I
then,
agree.
you know, towards the end of the year, we'll be trying to fund where we've shortfalled them, is my fear, so.
All right. So you're good with the tax rate that we had proposed on the proposed rate?
We're gonna have
right
to,
now?
my opinion, we're gonna have to at least go back to that, to the
Okay.
43.
Okay.
Let's start there and then look at the cuts.
Right, and that's exactly, if you will go to Janice's worksheet, that's exactly where I am right now on the yellow tab. The proposed 0.43712 tax rate, which is the same tax rate as the last couple of years, and that is basically what changes the start of the tax rate with That is the proposed tax rate at this time, but we've constantly made changes to it, so. And if you'll go to the proposed 0.43712 tax rate,
Now, did this put the last cut that the departments did, it put it back in?
Okay, on the yellow tab, the general fund, 0.43712, that, if you're looking at that one, let me go. Okay, that last column, column M, was the original proposed budget with the budget cuts that the departments did, and also some additional corrections with salaries. So that column M includes every correction and the budget cuts from the departments that made additional cuts. So when you go to the bottom of the spreadsheet, with all those cuts and corrections, changes, the general fund would have a excess revenue of $70,447. That is leaving the commissioners at the 0.06 cents. That was this is the proposed budget as it was then with the
cuts
cuts
that
and the
voluntarily
cuts
they did.
and the
Right.
corrections. That's correct. So that's leaving the commissioners at their 0.06 cents, and then this, with the changes, would give the general fund $70,447 additional revenue. And I have highlighted all the changes, the departments that made cuts. They're highlighted in yellow, then comments highlighted in yellow for those that didn't think they could cut their budgets anymore because they had already cut their budgets with the request, with the original proposal. And then some departments did come back in and cut some more, and as Terry said, they cut when I'm sort of concerned about some of them making the cuts.
I agree.
Me too.
Then there was also some changes as far as salaries go. It was discovered that the county attorney and the county court at law judge number 2, by state mandate, beginning in January, they will move up to the new tier. So that means they get a salary increase. That has been included in these corrections changes. And also in the request that was submitted back, Judge Inselman requested that gave us an order that he's requesting his court reporter be increased, her salary be increased 10%. So that's also included in here. And then also there were some changes that I needed to make in the salary schedule, which involved the assistant prosecutor's supplement pay. I had it in the salary schedule, but I had taken it out, so it was a net zero effect. But I had to put it back in because it would have put their department salary in the red. It's a supplement, we get paid that money, but by me taking it out of the salary schedule, it zeroed it out, the effect of it, so they would have been in red at the end of the year, so I added that back. So I think that was all the changes that had to be changed as far as salaries go, and then the cuts, so.
Got a question on the salaries now. On the other additional requests for salaries, in the original budget, Commissioner Cheshire's increase for salary increases are included.
Well, his is in his fund, though.
Right,
He
I
did, but
understand.
if you look at your salary schedule, if you go to the salary schedule judge, which is the
Right.
orange tab, if you go to that tab, you'll see where I've added the county court at law 2, I've added the county
Right.
attorney, and then in the tax assessor's collector, she had requested to do away with the deputy part-time position that you see at the bottom there above longevity pay. On line 124, she had requested to do away with that part-time position and give 3 individuals in her department, split it between the 3 of them and give them a pay raise.
Who was
So
that?
that is included.
That's tax
That's a
assessor.
tax assessor
Bill.
collector. So she's deleting a part-time position and giving that salary to 3 other people in her department.
I'm not sure we can do that.
Then,
Well, that's why we're discussing this now.
I think
because-
if she don't need that, it needs to go back to the general fund.
Because also that comes up to the DA's request that has not been addressed yet. And that's where I'm going with this.
well, let me
is
just
we-
keep going down and you
Okay.
can see it. Then on line 386, you'll see where I've added the court reporter 10% request. And then in the DA's office on line 416 and 418, she has requested that the position DA 2 and 3 currently are at the same salary level. She's wanting to increase, well, we don't have our people titled like she has hers, as she's calling them assistant, first assistant, lead, and all
Right.
that. So I need to get with her to get all of our titles the way she wants them named. But she's wanting to take $3,000 from one position and move it to another one to make a first assistant position.
Yeah, they're in the room now, so they joined us, so, okay. Just want to let you know.
So
Okay.
then, so that's.
What
that
line
was-
is that, Janice?
That's on line 416 and 418.
Mhm.
So that
See
is,
the two highlighted black ones? 416, 418.
so it's no change as far as the salary, as far as the net effect is, there's no change. She's just wanting to move the money from one position to another.
And that was that term that you said don't use, nomenclature, they're changing the name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then, and like I said, I need to get with Ms. Castles and us get our schedule to agree with the way she wants her
Right.
position's name. And and then it also, it was in her department that I had the assistant prosecutor longevity pay taken out when it was supposed to be in there. And I'm thinking, and then when you go on down to Road and Bridge, line 541, precinct 4, Commissioner Cheshire had given his operators a pay raise. He deleted operator number 8 position and then gave these guys a pay raise. But as I said, that doesn't affect the general fund.
Right.
That's affecting his budget.
Right, I understand.
And I think that was all the salary.
Okay.
Well, it's up to this court to decide what y'all wanna do, but I'm not real comfortable giving raises to a few people and not everybody. And I know it's within their own department, but at a time when we're struggling, trying to make this budget balance,
Well-
if there's money there to be,
In district court, we've been given an order. to do
yeah, I
that.
understand that one.
Yeah.
I understand that one. Not sure, how that works, but
Well, and two, we don't really have an option with the county court at law and the county attorney either, because that's a state
those are
mandated.
mandated.
Those-
That's a state
yeah.
mandated salary, so we have to move them up to the next level.
Yeah, we dump enough stuff on the county attorney, he needs it.
He needs double, don't he?
Okay, can we go back to the general fund now?
Okay, so with the budget cuts and the corrections, salary corrections and changes that's been made there, we have a $70,447 increase, leaving the commissioners at the .06
Right.
in the general fund, 70,000 increase.
Now, just a point that I want to make on this general fund, in the original proposed budget at the same tax rate as last year, in order to balance the budget to begin with, we had to take about $70,000 out of the contingency fund, the emergency fund. Normally, we try to leave that at a minimum of 200,000, and we had to take it down to 140, I think, roughly 140. My recommendation at this time is, with the extra money that, with the new figures that we've got, we really need to have that contingency fund for the reason that you're saying. because I think that there's gonna be departments that are going to have cut so far because they're doing what we asked them to do. And because of that, I think there's gonna be some departments that's gonna get in trouble. And I think that contingency fund going back up to the 200,000 would definitely be a necessity for this next year, because I think that it's gonna be needed. Just my recommendation.
Let me throw another recommendation out, and this will probably be something that Mr. Kirby will want to address. If we, I think we need to fund or make a position for the Union Road Administrator. If I'm understanding the statutes right, in November, if that passes, then all the funds are gonna go into one, all the road and bridge funds will go into one. And I think at that time, we have to start hunting a road administrator, don't we?
It will be,
I mean, even if we don't fund it, I think we need to do the position, and then should it pass, we'll have to fund it out of a general fund.
Commissioner, I'm not exactly sure the answer to. The statute states that goes into effect immediately if it passes the election. There's not a whole lot of guidance beyond that as to how that's all gonna operate. I've talked to one or two of you about that in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
The funds would, I'm not exactly sure where the funds would come from, whether it's just out of the general fund or out of existing budgets for the commissioners, road and bridge accounts. It is required to be established immediately. I don't think that, I think that can be done as far as setting up the position at that time that the election occurs. I think the court has authority to do that, as opposed to having to do it immediately, because obviously depending on how the election goes, it may not be a position that's actually created in the end. If nothing else, acting under the emergency powers of the court to amend the budget, I think in that situation, you can move to create a new position and transfer funds from another source to cover it. So, I guess to answer your question, in my opinion, right this second, I think that it would be best way for the election to occur first. We can certainly look at how that's going to operate more specifically as we get closer to the election and come up with a plan in the event that does occur. I don't think it's something that we would need to do right this second.
I've tried to research it too. All I can find is you gotta put your money together, but I can't find nothing after that how to handle it.
other judges that I've talked to that have been through it say that it's a gradual thing. You start working on one thing, you go ahead and get the position, you implement it immediately, but until you can actually get everything done, it's not gonna happen overnight. In other words, it takes several months and sometimes even toward the end of the year when it's done mid-year. But it will be easily handled at that time to create a position, I think, if it does happen, if it's all right with y'all.
Yeah.
Along that line, I'd be glad to make some contact with some of the other jurisdictions that may go through this and see if I can get some information on how they handle it. Along the lines of what you're talking about.
You bet. That's what the other judges have told me that I've been in contact with that have been through it, so. It doesn't happen overnight, but you start it immediately, so.
Yeah, it's gonna be crippling to have to, at this point, try to come up with money to fund it, honestly.
It will happen if that's what the voters say, then it will happen. But, it'll be a gradual thing and it'll be handled properly, so. All right. Do you understand the recommendation as far as the overage that we've got on that to try to put it back into contingency and the reason why?
So we wanna try to do that instead of giving this last budget cuts back to each department? Is that where we're headed now?
I would say that if we keep the budget cuts that we've taken right now in place, then we need to take that extra money and put it back in contingency with the idea that if they get in trouble, then that's what that's for. It's just my thought, and we can do that at the last minute. All right?
Judge, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
One of the thought on that, so I know y'all moved on, but as far as that salary, I guess that could be a consideration. You might look at what the balance you're gonna put into contingency. I mean, that's an obvious potential source for a salary for that position if it came into effect. Outside of the existing road and bridge budgets. So I guess that could be a consideration, setting the amount that you're gonna place into contingency. That might be a potential source for the money to fund that position if it was required after the elections.
That's why I think we need a minimum of the 200,000 in there, which has been the amount in the past until last year.
Will this get us to that point?
Yes.
This you're talking about putting in there?
Yes, just.
So we're talking about cutting all the smaller budgets just for something that we're not sure is gonna happen in the first place.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing we're not putting that position in at this time, okay? We're waiting for, if that happens, it happens, and we're waiting for that to happen. But the budget cuts that were requested by this court, leaving those in place right now, just like they are. But since it did create a little bit of blue sky for us at the end of the general fund, that 70,000 at the end of the general fund, let's put that back into contingency. So it can be handled as an emergency manager, an emergency measure for whatever comes up. Does that make sense? Clear as
Yes.
mud?
Yeah, go ahead,
Clear as
I'm
mud,
just
baby.
listening.
Okay. All right.
Y'all wanna go through each department and see who's cut and how much?
We can, but I tell you, I've been over it and over it and over it, and I was impressed. Everybody is really
I think-
doing what they need to do.
I'm with Commissioner Pitts on this. I think, a lot of our smaller departments are gonna really be hurting, and have gone after their budgets aggressively, to a degree that it's gonna hurt before the year's over with. You know, it's just sitting here scrolling through it, looking at it, you know, it's kind of scary.
Well, what's your recommendation?
Well,
Do you want to look at each department, or?
well, I'm impressed, I'll say that. I am impressed, that, you know, the cuts have been made the way they cut it.
They did what the court asked them to do?
They did it exactly. The one concern that I have, and I hope that this doesn't become a trend, is that we cut, the cut of vehicle out at the sheriff's office. But that's a big expenditure, I get it.
Mhm.
Then you look down at the emergency management coordinator, who is a small department, he's cut $1,000 out of it. The county extension agent, that's even a smaller department. It's not a smaller department, but they've cut $3,355 out of that department. And that, to me, and I hold a biased opinion, so I'll say that clearly and upfront, the county extension office, they do great work with our youth in our county around here, and they work on a very minimal budget to start with, and they cut 3,300 plus out of their budget. So it just, county court clerk's office, she cut her 10% of her original budget. Just click on that here, JP Poor cut 2,800 out of his budget, that's a small department as well. I just, as far as I can tell, that's the only department that cut me, JP office that cut me. I just really worry that we're gonna go backwards in some of these areas.
Well, I'll tell you guys, we're looking at, the state has told us that we're looking at a 10% this year shortfall. They say next year, we're looking at 20%, long-range forecast. We're looking for a rocky next couple of years, and I think we're all gonna be tightening our belt quite a bit. And I honestly believe that it's gonna be worse next year.
Well, there's two things in life that are for sure. One is death and the other one's taxes. And nobody wants to raise taxes, but your government has to be funded. And,
If we're gonna provide the services that we're obligated to provide for the county, you're right.
but it's gonna be at a diminished rate. Absolutely gonna be a diminished rate.
Well, the court didn't ask for it, but I went ahead and tried to think ahead, and I went ahead and did some calculations using the voter approval rate, and that's the next two tabs that are not highlighted there, following the yellow tabs.
Okay.
The voter approval rate's 0.443867, and on that calculation, I gave the departments back their cuts.
Their last cut.
Their last cuts that y'all just requested, I gave them back that and made the salary changes that we needed to be making, and calculated 3 different ways. One was with leaving road and bridge at the 6 cents. Road and bridge would increase $38, and the general fund would increase $205,111. Then I calculated it using, giving road and bridge 6 1/4 cents, raising you from the 6 cents up to 10625. Then your funds would increase $106,321, and the general fund would increase $98,828. And then the last one was increasing road and bridge to your current rate, 0.06581, which is what y'all are currently, with the current budget you have. That would increase your funds $246,953, and it would leave the general fund in the red, $41,804. So the spreadsheet that I have presented is the middle of the road, giving y'all the 6 1/4 cents, and the general fund, with that one, the general fund gets an additional 98,000, y'all get an additional 106,000. And that is giving back the departments
The
the
last
cuts that they,
cuts.
the last cuts that they did, and making the corrections.
In the interest of time, with our district attorney in the office, can we go ahead and hear from her and allow her to go on about her business so we can take those things into consideration at this point, if she's ready?
It's fine with me if it's gonna be brief.
Be very brief, Judge.
Please.
I would just say that I don't think anybody envies your position. We all know that funding is limited, and y'all have to be cognizant and responsible for funds going a lot of different places and services coming out of a lot of places. You all know that the office that I'm charged with trying to administer has had significant challenges for some time. And we have grown, but without any cuts, without any virus issues. Before virus ever hit, we were poised to have 3 positions that were underfunded and not going to be able to be maintained into the next year. You know that I had requested some funding that we did not expend from this year. I know that you are dealing with challenges and shortfalls. That is not funding that is necessarily headed back to me or should come back to me, and y'all have to deal with who you're going to fund for all kinds of things. All I would say is, I'm not sure any other department is already gonna lose or be unable to maintain 3 whole positions before we ever get to the current mess that we're in. And so, my request for those funds had to do with me being able to try to save probably some of those and not all of those as I deal with that shortfall next year. To the extent that you all are dealing with the total picture, I would say any amount of those funds, even if you keep the majority of those funds that could be used or might be considered so that we didn't lose the full 3 positions, we would ask that you consider and be mindful. I don't know that any other department is in that position where they were already gonna be losing 3 full positions. The only other comment I would make for you today is, while I came to you earlier, having been newly in the position and said, hey, this structure that we have for payment of employees does not fit a 2-court system, and you were very kind to listen to what I had to say about the fact that it doesn't fit with how we practice. Being new in the position, I did take that money from a first assistant position. I'm not asking for a whole new position. I was new with personnel. I was new with what was coming in. We've since had a very experienced prosecutor leave. I have been able to learn people, and I have a person who has kind of taken on those responsibilities that entails a lot of extra hours, a lot of extra effort, and a lot of extra work. It's not so much designed to necessarily give a person a raise. It's designed to put my salary structure where we still have a first assistant noted, where it's going to fit in with the rest of the personnel as far as what this person is already actually doing. That is a transfer that is not going to change any net effect in my department, but I do think it's going to allow my department to continue to run in the way that I'm trying to administer it, where we have, frankly, a whole lot of problems. And I do have some people in there who are putting forth a lot of effort, and I think that, you know, normally you have a first assistant, y'all were very considerate to listen to what I was saying, and there was a reason why I didn't give someone a designation at that point. You all said that we'd like to see those kinds of requests at budget time, so I'm making that request for you at budget time. If you do not see fit to do that, I can assure you, I will come back and make that request again, because it fits with what's going on in my department, and it's the right thing to do. So with that, I respectfully thank you for allowing me to be addressed, and I'm ready to answer any question you have, Judge.
Can you get with the auditor about these position changes and work that out with her?
I feel like that certainly would be an easy thing to do.
Yeah, that would be, and just for clarification, the 3 positions that you're talking about are the granted positions.
They are, Your Honor.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, is there anything new with the information that we're getting from the state? Are those positions definitely not going to be carried forward as far as a grant, or do we know that?
Well, we actually had good news. As you know, the victim assistance coordinator is on one grant, and an investigator position and attorney position are on another grant. Both of the grants have been extended past the first of the year. So we were in a position where if they didn't extend it, we might not have had some of that salary position for the next year, but we do have that. And so we will have some funding for next year, and we will have obviously an opportunity to grant write again to cover what we think would be the tail end of the year. So I would be struck trying to take together something, you know, the same thing really y'all are trying to do, is trying to figure out how in the world can I try to get this covered where we're gonna have a shortfall in the middle. But the extension was good news for us, at least in a qualified manner.
And the application will be made, I'm sure, to try to go ahead and get the grant extended on past that, if at all possible.
Well, those grants will expire. We can't extend
Right.
those. The plan would be
To get a new one and replace
yes,
that.
sir.
Yes.
We would come back to the court.
Sure.
I've already started, obviously, as you know, Judge, and probably everybody else, the grants the solicitations won't start until after the first of the year. I've already started doing some research to look and see if there are other funding sources other than the grants that we had. Because I suspect those grants are probably gonna be limited just based on, you know, the general tenor of nobody's got any money. I've already started looking for some other sources, but we'll certainly come back to the court with what's available. We have to have permission to apply for those, as we always do, but we'll come back and visit with the court once that happens. help of the auditor and the judge, we've been able to kind of talk to the governor's office, and they have already approved the extensions for a period of time, but we are gonna have a significant gap between our salary funding and if we were to receive another grant, when that grant funding would start.
How far into the new year is that? Do we know yet?
We
It's
have
gonna be
one-
February or March, or?
No, we have one that they have graciously let us have until March 31st. The liquidation date for that is 90 days afterward, and what that essentially means is it's funded through March, and you have to expend all your funds within 90 days of that date. And then the other one, I believe they extended through May 31st. And what that basically did, Judge, is when we filled those positions, obviously the grants had already been funded. We didn't fill those positions until Ms. Castles took office. So what I requested
Right.
is the year's worth of salary from the start date of those individuals, and they were gracious enough to grant us an extension to allow us basically to expend the grant. Otherwise, we would have had to have given back several months' worth of salary, but we've been able to do that. So those positions will be funded for a year from their start date, but we're
Right.
still gonna have a gap from June, for
Right.
one position from April, and then the others two from June.
Pretty well guaranteed to like mid-year, you know, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I understand.
And I know the court already knows this, but I would point out that that gap is through no fault of the office or the way that we've administered the funding, and that from the point in time when we have been able to put productive people in those positions, that we've been able to generate some really good-looking stats, and so that, you know, while we're not loving the position we're in, we will be able to demonstrate that the grant funding that we were able to utilize has been put to good use and has been put to good use for the purpose that they intended, and that we've been able to get some results there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Thanks, Stephanie. All right. After the last comment about the voter approval rate, just my comment is that I don't want to raise taxes, okay? And,
Well, Judge, you make that comment, you don't want to raise taxes, but raising taxes is at 43712. That's a tax increase over.
that is
no new
not a
revenue.
tax
That
increase.
is a
I
tax
will argue with
increase.
you until I'm blue in the face. That is a revenue
Well, Judge, you can
increase.
turn blue in the face because you can ask the auditor right there, and she'll tell you that it's a tax increase. She didn't.
Terminology.
Terminology?
To make
You're trying to
sure.
fool the voters, is what you're trying to do.
Absolutely not. I'll tell you what, Commissioner.
No, you don't tell me
If
anything.
you want to confuse the voters, let's look at this right here. Let's look at the fact that you're
No
talking
new
about.
revenue,
Let's look at the
41,5302, that's no new revenue. Anything above that rate, Judge, is a tax increase. It's a tax increase. Okay? The same thing happened last year.
It
You're not
certainly
gonna get
did.
away with it.
It certainly did, and that's why the legislature came out with the new terminology of no new revenue and voter approval rate.
Okay, this proposed budget at the current tax rate of 43,712 is a tax increase. Okay?
It
Of
is
800 and
a
something
revenue.
thousand.
It is a revenue increase, and if you don't have
Judge,
a
the
rev.
Supreme Court
Let me finish,
has a
let me
road-
finish, let me finish, please. If you don't have a revenue increase for a county, you go back to what Commissioner Pitts was recommending, going back to the no new revenue rate. The county is gonna dry up on the vine. It will die.
We agree. We all agree with that.
That is-
But what we don't agree on is for our chief executive financial officer of Angelina County sitting up here telling everybody that, our tax rate at 43,712 is not a tax increase, when it is.
That's the way I read it too, Judge, it is.
And that's the way the statute
The-
reads it.
The constituents won't see an increase unless their appraisals go up at that rate. But when you consume the extra revenue that you're talking about, it is actually a tax increase. Now,
I
like
think-
mine will go up because my appraisal went up. Even at the
think-
43, my taxes are
I
gonna go
think the
up.
terminology that the state has come out with is confusing, and that's the reason why I make the clarification. as long as
We have
you're.
we have our auditor sitting here, and I'm not trying to throw her under the bus, but, you know, she stated,
The way I see this, it's staying at the .43712, our current tax rate, staying at that. The tax rate's not changing. We will have tax revenue increase because we are not going back to the tax rate of .415302, which is the no new revenue rate. And that rate would be the rate that if everything stayed the same, there would be no tax increase or a tax rate increase or a tax increase across the board. But there will, even adopting that rate, there would still be some tax revenue, a little bit, because if you're looking at these sheets that Billy put out, or gave us, which I'm sorry, I should have made y'all a copy. With the .4155302 no new revenue rate, our budget, it will be $158,994 increase. Even with the no new revenue rate, you're still gonna have some revenue of $158,000. And my understanding of that is the difference between the 2019 certified values that we used last year has changed from the 2019 certified values that we have this year. Because last year we had properties that were under protest. So some of that has all been resolved. So that changed our 2019 certified values. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So therefore, that would explain why we would have $158,000 increase even with the no new revenue rate. So it's all a matter of terminology, how you look at it. Tax rate does not change. 43712, it's still the same tax rate. But yes, it is bringing in more revenue because the property values have changed. Is that
And if
still
we don't
the reason?
lower our tax rate to compensate for that, then it's actually a tax
It's
increase.
a tax increase.
Well, it's,
by state definition.
my effort is not to confuse the voters. And when they're looking at their tax statement that comes in at the end of the year, and my comment that there is no tax rate increase because it's the same as the year before, to me, it's less confusing as a voter and as a taxpayer.
That's deception.
That is not
The
deception.
thing you gotta
That
realize,
is not deception if you explain it, and I've explained it over and over and over, and I don't understand why you feel like it's deception, but that is not deception.
If you're sitting here telling people that it's not raising taxes when it raises anything over the no new revenue rate is a tax increase,
If you
Judge.
will look at my statements, you will find out that I say that that is the same tax rate as last year.
We all agree it's the same tax rate. I have the tax rates for the past 10 years. And let me start at 2010, we were at .4328. 2011, we were at .4475. If the court will indulge me, I'll go on. 2012, we were at .4522. 2013, we were at .4619. In 2014, we were at the highest rate we've been in the 10-year period. Of .4669 in 2015. We dropped it just a little bit. It went down to .4654, dropped it significantly again in 2016, .4562, increased it in 2017 slightly to .4618. In 2018, we decreased it slightly to .4588. 2019, we dropped it significantly to the current rate of .4371, .371 in 2020. All of those tax rates created the same revenue plus some. Okay? Those tax rates change. Okay? We can go with the proposed budget of .43712, and it will be a tax increase. The only way that we don't increase taxes is if we go to the no new revenue of 0.415302.
So you don't see a difference between revenue and tax rate?
Revenue and tax rate?
Right. You don't see a difference in the actual revenue that's produced yearly and the
Yes,
tax rate?
there is
changed?
there's very much a difference in tax revenue
Well,
increase.
that's the only clarification that
Because-
I made, because of the fact that,
I think,
my effort has been trying to clarify to the taxpayer, to the homeowner,
this,
the clarification. And why are we arguing
This-
about this
this
anyway?
budget-
We're in a budget
well,
workshop here.
we're talking about the budget. This budget will increase, revenue $838,978, which is a 4.47 increase over last year's budget. That's a tax increase, Judge.
Let me ask a simple question that might clear this up. Do you agree, Judge, that if we accept at the same tax rate, the 43.72, that we'll have to have 2 public hearings?
Counselor? No, that's not right.
You don't think we will?
No, it's changed, and now they've changed from 2 to 1. Correct?
Yes, the statutes have changed. If you have,
Well, will we have to have a public hearing on the proposed budget if we go to the 4.3?
We gotta have-
The same tax rate we got this
The
year?
same tax
Yeah,
rate.
say it's the same tax rate.
I don't remember if the statutes depended on an increase in revenue or an increase in the tax rate. If you give me a few minutes, I'll.
Okay.
2606, section
I have it with me here.
B2.
I think you're gonna find that you gotta have a public hearing on it because it's a tax increase.
You're gonna have to have a public hearing.
Well, I was figuring on having it anyway, but
Well, I would agree with that. I think that's only proper for all of us to do.
Well, you do have, so it is tied to the no new revenue rate in the statutes, in the tax code. So if there is any, if you exceed the no new revenue rate, you are required to have a public hearing on the tax rate.
right. And I was figuring on doing that anyway, but yes.
Does that answer your question?
Well, I think so, but why would you have to have one if it's not a tax increase?
I'm not sure, so, I mean, that's, the
Yeah.
statute says anytime you exceed, well, it specifically says, if the rate exceeds the lower of the voter approval rate or the no new revenue rate, the public hearing is required on the rate. So, well, it used to be two hearings, but now it's just one.
Yeah.
So, I think in any of those situations, you're gonna have an increase in revenue. Obviously, there's not an increase in the, if you're at the, no new revenue rate, then there's not gonna be any increase in revenue, so it's tied to any increase in revenue is the way I look at it. So if you have new, I mean, any situation where you've got new property on the tax rolls, anything that creates more revenue, increases
That's right.
appraisals, new property, you'll have more revenue, so even at the same rate as last year. So, in that situation.
But if we went back to the 41, the no new revenue, then we wouldn't have to have a public
Only-
hearing, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. If you go back to the no new revenue rate, where the county would receive exactly the same amount of revenue as last year, then you would not have to have a hearing.
But,
That,
let me
yeah,
say.
go ahead. That statute has changed.
Yeah.
And, you know, for instance, last year, if we
Go
did
ahead.
not, as far as the tax rate change, if you didn't go past the 3.5, remember in the past, you didn't have that problem. You didn't have to have the hearing. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. I will say this much, the 4.1, the no new revenue, y'all don't wanna go there.
No.
You just do not wanna go
Absolutely
there.
not.
Can't go there.
You're backing up and y'all think you're hurting now, if you go to that right there, in 8 months from now, you'll be hurting real bad.
In 2 years from now, 3 years
Yeah.
from now, we're.
So I'm telling you
dead in the
guys, you
water.
can't go backwards.
Right.
Don't go backwards, you know. And everybody's not getting what they're wanting. I know that for a fact. But the thing about it is, you need to stay where we're at. Yep. And Judge, I'm gonna agree with them boys down there. We're gonna pay extra taxes. I'm a taxpayer too, just like everybody else in this room. So we're gonna have to step up and pay a little extra taxes. But I ain't for higher taxes. I ain't for higher taxes.
No.
I've been here 5.5 years, and I'll tell you, I go out being not for higher taxes. So,
I don't think anybody on this court or in this
no,
room,
no, they're not. So
or
I'm
anybody
just
that comes up
saying,
in here,
let's just, anyhow, that's where I wanna be with it. And y'all keep going ahead, and I'll step in there once in a while.
Well, your recommendation then is to go with the proposed.
Well, I'm not, let me listen to the rest of y'all first. Let me throw something else in there too. Billy Page made a good point. A lot of the schools, I don't wanna quote her, but I think she said most of them, except Hudson, I think she said, had actually lowered theirs a little bit. And that's what our constituents need to understand. We don't control all of their taxes. And that's confusing a lot of times. You know, the appraisal district affects what they pay, the school affects what they pay, as well as Angelina College affects what they pay. So we can't sit here and say no matter what we do, that they're not gonna pay a little more or a little less, because whatever the
Right.
schools and the college and the appraisal district, you know. If we sat here and fixed it where mine wasn't gonna go up, it's going up anyway, cause my appraisal went up this year. And that's just stuff that you know, our constituents need to understand. Matter of fact, ours is the little one. When you look on your, when you look on your taxes, ours is the little bitty one up there.
Yeah.
Well, now the college is a little smaller, I think.
Yeah.
But
The one thing that we can affect is our tax rate, the
That's
county
right.
tax
That's-
rate.
that's
And that's really what we need to be talking about, because that is the only thing that we can affect at this point. And all this other conversation is fine, but the tax rate that we need to be focusing on is exactly what we can actually affect. The rest of it is.
I don't think we can
just
balance the
gee whiz
budget
talk.
at the 43, can we?
no.
Yes,
You're gonna pull it out
You're
of
going,
contingency
we're gonna have to
line.
put on contingency.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on the record with the rest of them. I'm not interested in going backwards. Folks are gonna have to, help us, and help the county and help their local government. I mean, just like the pleas from the district attorney a while ago, you know, and other departments have made their comments in writing. There may be a little bit of unpopular opinion about this, but when we went from 6 patrol cars every 2 years to 3 patrol cars a year, and then to 4 patrol cars a year, and I see us this year cutting a patrol car. We're hurting our emergency response. Now, if we can cut 1 patrol car this year, and then give me assurance that we will do our best to get it back next year, I'm in favor of that. I really am, because I want deputies to be able to respond. And I don't know everything that goes wrong over there, don't care. Well, I do care. Let me rephrase that. I do care. But I don't manage that department. But providing the equipment that is needed over there is our responsibility, not to manage it. And that's the same thing about road and bridge. It's my responsibility to manage precinct 4, not anybody else's. The same as precinct 1 or precinct 2 or precinct 3. I don't manage the auditor's office or the county clerk's office or the county attorney's office. I manage precinct 4, road and bridge. And we've cut, and we've made some changes. Other departments have made some cuts, made some changes. go back to the issue of where some of these smaller departments have made some pretty deep cuts, as Commissioner Pitts has stated. I think it's gonna put us in a bind later on this next year. And probably somewhere around June, we will be dipping into contingency fund to assist them. And I think with us trying to do the best we can, but putting the budget together the best we can, we
But I
don't
wanna
need, we
say
don't need to go
that, I admire
backwards.
the departments, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I
Yeah.
admire the departments for making those cuts, those extra cuts that they've done. They've done a good job,
They did an excellent job.
yeah.
I'm phenomenally impressed, because next year, they may have to make those cuts and make some significant changes. We may have to make some significant changes all across the whole county, but if we don't have to do it this year, don't do it. Let's try to hold the line,
Do you have a recommendation, or are you just
well, my.
going on?
My idea, my thought is right now, I would really like for us to do our best to stay at the current tax rate, which is a tax increase. And I'm not in favor of a tax increase.
All right. Y'all have talked about road and bridge cuts. I want to mention one thing. I did some quick figuring, and we'll go to precinct 4 first. The actual decrease in the proposed budget this year, we decreased from last year's budget 0.5 cent, okay? We went from 0.65 down to 0.6. That actually decreased the amount of revenue to use in road and bridge, 37,000 in precinct 4. You take that amount of money and you add the tax note to it, which is actually amount of money that is going to be available that year to use in road and bridge of $645,000. Take 37 from it, you've actually got an increase in your road and bridge fund of $609,000.
Here's where we disagree on this, Judge.
That is across the board with all the precincts. The precincts are gonna be in better shape with road and bridge because of this tax note.
Absolutely, and that's why we pursued it, but
It's still a terrible loan.
This is a supplement, not a replacement.
I'm sorry, it's
No, Judge,
money
it's not.
it's money that's added to your budget.
It
It
is-
is money that you can use in your road and bridge budget, is it not?
Yes, it is, and that's why we did
That
it.
is an increase of $609,000, and you're talking about all of
But
these
that's
budget cuts.
But that's a supplement.
You call it what you want to, it's $609,000. You can call it what you want to, but it's gonna be added to your bottom line. It's gonna be added to that amount of money that you can use. Precinct 3, goes up, $405,000. Precinct 2 has the least amount of increase. His is 310, and precinct 1 is $524,000. Bottom line is, this money is money that is added. So the precincts 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all gonna be in better shape, and they've all had a big increase. You can call it a supplement, you can call it Mickey Mouse, gee whiz, but it's still dollars and cents that's added to your budget. And I think it's important for the public to understand that.
I believe the public does understand it.
I don't think they do, not from your explanations.
I will agree to disagree, and that's fine, but when you're, again, going backwards.
So guys, with that in mind, we need to make a decision what we're gonna do to stick with, because in order to get this thing approved for the September 11th court, where we could go ahead and have our budget hearing, during the court and get this thing completely done and get it accepted by the taxpayers and get it accepted by the court, we have to send out salary notices and everything that's coming out just right around the corner, and we need to make a decision here. We need to make a decision as to what we're gonna do.
There's still an issue that we haven't addressed, and that's gonna be the parity pay with the constables. We all know that that's gonna be, an issue that we're gonna have to face. We know fairly certain that they're gonna file a grievance.
Well, they've got another couple of days.
They do, they do, and, you know, just like any other department, they were hoping to maybe avoid it, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be avoidable. Anybody on the court wanna address the issue, or just wait and let them file their grievance and address it afterwards?
Yeah, I think if that's what they're gonna do, then they're gonna do it anyway, so.
Well, I think they would probably not file the grievance if we gave them what they were asking for, but,
I don't know if we can do that at this time, though.
No, if we're not giving salary increases across the board, I'm sorry, but
Okay.
that, no.
Janice, if I click on the 44 that you did, which one is that representing? 1, 2, or 3? You know, there's 3 different,
That I,
that you did.
that's gonna be the one in the middle, where all the departments get their budget cuts back, the salary check corrections with the court reporter
Right.
and all that, and then y'all's increasing to .0625, and the general fund would increase $98,000. That's in the middle of the road. That was just, because I calculated one with the 6 cents, one with the 6 1/4 cents, and then one at the 6 1/2 cents that you currently have for road and bridge, and then whatever was left affected, of course, the general fund.
So the one when we click on it here is
So the one, when you click on that
the-
one, that
the
is the
number 2.
one with y'all getting .0625. So if you look at the VAR, .443867,
And that's
It
staying
shows-
under the voter approval rate
that is the voter approval rate. We can't adopt that rate without it going
to
to an
election.
election. That's
And it looks like that's gonna be the only thing right now that's gonna balance our budget. Is that a correct statement? Anything less than that, we're not balanced out.
No, we're not balanced anything. At the .43712, we're out of balance. We've presented a balanced budget, but then we've got the issues of the salary issues then, and, that's gonna throw us out $71,974, and then you're gonna have the issue, and you could balance it by pulling that out of contingency. That's gonna cut contingency down to $42,000, I think.
Yeah, and we need that.
What,
And
We need that
then,
contingency.
and then, if by chance the constables go to grievance and they win to make the same salary that precinct 1 constable makes, that's gonna be an additional,
33, I think.
that's gonna be an additional $33,072. So where's that gonna come
So we need
from?
that 70,000 going into contingency just for that.
The,
Minimal.
the VAR rate, .443, is lower than the tax rate of 2011. Just so we know what scale we're looking at.
Do what now?
In 2011, our tax
Oh.
rate was .4475.
Yeah.
This voter approval rate, .4438, is lower than the 2011 tax rate.
Well, hopefully things have changed in the county since 2011.
Well, it has
We've had a lot
changed.
of
We-
growth and
we-
we've had a lot of change. Let's not go back and look at,
No, but I
What he's
just,
saying is if there'll
Yeah.
still be a rate that's
right.
it'll still be a rate that is lower than what's 2011.
and we're providing a whole lot more.
And we're
services.
providing well over, if I remember correct, how many $1 million more worth of service since 2011?
I don't know, I wasn't into that.
Well,
It's a lot.
we're $6-7 million, I think, over that. If,
The sheriff department alone since 13's got 1.5 million.
well, there you go, but there's more to it than, so that's gonna be, the rest of the departments are gonna equal about that amount total over the 10 years. So,
All right? Are
So
you
y'all
making a
want-
recommendation?
y'all wanna look at the voter approval rate? Is that what we're,
I don't see no other way, Bobby. I mean, we have cut, and other
Kermit?
people have cut.
You wanna look at that?
is that what?
You're
Greg?
talking about improving the tax rate considerably, and I am vehemently against that, but.
Well, I am
it's
too, but-
entirely-
Yeah, we all are.
Well, let me do this then.
The budget that the auditor and I have put together is a balanced budget. If we take,
Every budget we put together is a balanced budget.
if we take the 70,000 freeboard out of it right now and put it back into contingency, go back to the $200,000 limit in contingencies for emergencies, we will end up with a balanced budget, and that's basically what we're looking at, and that was,
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought at 43 we couldn't balance it.
At 43 cents, what's been proposed is proposed, but we're still gonna be out 71,000
In the red.
in the red because of the fact that we've got to make the salary changes and corrections. That's not included in
I
our
thought the
proposed-
salary changes
and correction, we talking
was made in that,
Not the ones for the county attorney and the,
those two.
the county attorney and the,
Court law judges.
what am I trying to say, the county attorney, the
And
county
court at
at
law too.
Judge Inselman's court reporter, and then the, assistant prosecutor longevity pay that I had left out.
That's what
So
I'd asked
that is-
earlier. I thought those
no,
were in
that's-
there.
No, that's not in there.
Okay, so
Well, I mean, it's
the
in
cuts
the-
were in there, but the salary increases weren't.
Right, so, in our proposed budget, all that $71,000 is over and above that. So we're gonna be out of balance because of that. And also included in that is the
So those
6,000
amounts are going to be over the $70,000? Those
amounts.
those
are in-
salary increases are going to,
They're included in the $71,000 that we will be out of budget because it's not included in the proposed budget.
well, I understand what you're saying now, but those increases are not going to eat up all of that 71,000.
Well, this $70,000 that we are looking at right now is with the budget cuts and the increases. That is including the budget cuts that
Right.
the departments did. So you'll have $70,000 left over with the budget cuts and the salary corrections and all that
Right,
at the .43712.
correct.
So, but that is including taking away everything from the departments. So they're saying they don't wanna take away from the departments, they wanna give it back to them. So if
Well, I
you
don't
give it
know,
back
I'm
to
hearing
them-
it one side that they don't want to do it, and then on the next side that they don't want to do
I'm
it.
trying to
So
make
far,
it-
we've been all over the room a dozen times.
Well, they
Well,
know how I
that's a
feel
good
trying to
thing, too.
calculate all this stuff.
Well, I got a solution. Kerry can just give up his salary increase and it'll balance the budget.
Well, I can't,
can't.
I can say that, that is not something he's requested. Matter of fact, he didn't even know anything about it, okay? That is state mandated stuff.
Well, I would love to balance it at the 43. If that's possible.
I think if we could take those salary changes right now and apply it to the .43712, which used to be 1 and now it's 0.43712 instead of 1/1000th of a cent or whatever. If we could do those two salary increases right now and see exactly where we are with the cuts. I mean, the departments have made the effort okay?
I agree.
They've made the cuts.
Okay, so if you're gonna include all the budget cuts and all the salary increases and corrections, then, and adopt the 4.43712, the general fund, and leaving road and bridge at 106, the general fund will have an additional $70,000. That can be rolled into contingency. But that, I want everybody to understand, that is with all the departments, including the cuts that all the departments just made.
But that does not
And
have the
And
salary.
that includes all the salary corrections and everything. That's everything.
That does include the
That
salary.
includes everything.
See,
in this-
Except, now we got the DA still, right? Is there gonna be some changes there?
Well, actually, she's changing some position. She says that's not gonna change the dollar
Bottom
amount.
line.
She
No.
deleted the position, didn't she?
Yeah,
For that $3,000.
So that $3,000 that she's requesting to remove from one position to another, that's just a net effect. I mean, there's
right.
nothing changing.
That's
there.
not gonna change the dollar amount.
But she had originally requested $109,000
I know.
to fund these grant positions from when they end till whenever they can get them,
Right.
renewed. But we do have, included in the budget for those positions to be funded, if they get it, we've got that. But that in-between time is not in there. That was what she was
Right.
requesting, was $109,000.
And that was
That's
money,
not
that was to
included in
make
there.
up the difference. I understand that. But see, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that Carrie's increase and Clyde's increase is in that.
All of those, the salary corrections are included in this rate right here, the .43712, because of the budget, we
Yes,
can balance because of the budget cuts. You got an
Yes.
additional $70,000.
that's what I was thinking, and that's why I was hearing something
Yeah.
totally different.
But
but
our
no.
budget, but if you go back to our budget that was on the website proposed, then you would be in the red, at least $71,000.
I understand.
Because that doesn't include the corrections and
I
the additional
understand.
salaries.
But with the
But with
additional
this-
cuts that
Yes.
the departments have made, which was very gratifying, because they did exactly what they were asked to do by the court, does put us back in a balanced budget situation at the no increased tax rate of .43712,
Okay, well, let me
with
ask,
the increases.
with the 443,867, the way it's on here, we don't have a balanced budget, but
Where,
the,
where are you?
I'm looking at the
Again.
general fund, 443,867.
That's the voter approval rate.
Voter
That's
approval
going
rate.
up, that's gonna go up to, that's about 1.5 cents higher voter rate. That's an increase in, voter tax rate.
And that's without the cuts that we asked for,
That's without the last
the
cut.
last cuts, I
Now,
mean.
keep in mind that those cuts were 65,000, that was,
71,000,
okay, it was about 71,000. The last wave
Last
of
wave of
cuts affected the budget by 71,000. So it wasn't that great a amount.
But that's giving us 98,000 plus to go into, we could put into contingency.
if you adopted the voter approval rate of 443,867, gave back all the departments what they just cut, make the corrections for the mandated salaries and et cetera, the other mistakes. Give road and bridge .0625, 6.25 cents. Then the $98,828 that you're looking at on the general fund, that would be extra money for the general fund.
Okay.
Using that rate, giving road and bridge 6.25 cents rather than 6 cents, that's gonna give the road and bridge $106,321 additional dollars, and it would give the general fund $98,828 additionally. And that's everything hopefully fixed. And giving back the budget, giving back those departments the money that they just cut in this last round of
That's
cuts.
around the cuts.
Some of the departments couldn't cut because they'd already cut the first time.
County court clerk cut hers 10% to start with.
I cut mine 24.88 cents
saw
to
that.
start with,
I saw that.
percent, not cents, percent.
Yeah, but you're
Point
not,
what? 24 point what?
.88.
only an accountant, but that point.
Yeah, only an auditor would throw that in there, wouldn't he?
Well, I want to apologize to the court, because I know I have made some mistakes with this budget process, and I know that out in the community, boy, it has been just running rampant, because what's happened to the $1.2 million, where did I hide it, who stole it, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, mistakes are made. But I also wanna say that this budget is on top of all of my responsibilities that I have every day of the week. And I have lost lots of sleep. I have spent many an hour working on these budget sheets, going from one rate to another rate, cutting this and doing that. And I have spent a lot of time. People make mistakes. Budgets in the past have had mistakes in them. I've made mistakes, and whoever does these budgets in the future will make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But as the Bible says,
He without seeing cast the first stone,
that's exactly right. So.
but we
if-
still got a bunch of accusers standing around with
So
stones.
the accusers, if they want to crucify me, I'll go out into the parking lot, and the first one that had made a mistake is more than welcome to come start stoning.
Well, I'll have to stand there with you.
So.
They'll have to
anyway.
stone me too.
Well, what they don't realize is we're audited, our auditor's audited, and that auditor's audited, and we're audited to death. So it's pretty hard to hide $10, much less a million.
Well, and two, the community's also saying that we need to hire outside auditors. We just had our outside auditors to come present to the
Right.
court.
And gave us the highest credit rating available.
And also said we was gonna have some downfalls in
They
April.
told us,
So, thank you.
they warned us. And they're right.
Yep.
Yeah, they're
Can I
right.
make a comment on the salary?
Certainly.
There is one thing I am willing to, in regard to my particular raise, to waive, at least for the coming year, the half that would come from the county. That makes any difference with regard to the county's ability to.
I don't think it's gonna,
The raise that I'm entitled to, half of it actually comes from the state, so, I mean, that money is not coming out of the county's pocket anyway.
No.
I don't think it's gonna make that much difference.
Which is somewhere a little over $5,000 would come from the county.
Yeah. I appreciate the gesture, but
If
no.
it makes any difference, to waive that obligation to the county for the coming year, that would be an assistance. I still receive a raise from the state without regard to that, so.
Yeah. I appreciate it, but I don't think that's necessary at this time.
No,
I really don't.
Thank you.
We're gonna put more work on you, so we're gonna iron
That's what I want to give it back.
Gary
It'll make a
said,
difference, I ain't willing to do that.
Gary said, never mind.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So where are we?
in a place we don't wanna be.
Well, we need a recommendation. We're at .4312, or are we going to the voter approval rate and actually raise the voter tax rate? I mean, it sounds to me like that's where y'all are talking about going. I really don't wanna go there, but if we're gonna do it, we need to do it
Yeah.
and quit talking around it.
You're right, I agree with that, Judge. We have talked, all of us have talked around it. And none of this is favorable to what any of our principles that we stand for. But I believe that we are holding government in check, is what we're doing. We need a HR person, okay? I believe that's being kicked down the road. And I've had multiple meetings with our auditor, and that's something she's burnt my ear up about. You know, I believe in the future, we're gonna pay for not having an HR person with our county. Is this something we're gonna have to live without for another year or two? from the talk of everything, yeah, it is. It sadly so. But I was on the court, Greg was on the court when we made an election administrator. Our county became, had so much growth that it had to establish its own department, and take the elections responsibility away from the tax assessor collector's office and set up its own department. You know, the continuity of our elections is one of the most important things that we can possibly do. You know, next that falls in line is taking care of the personnel that take care of the people of Angelina County. And that HR person is the person who does that. Not only do they guide us and advise us and things like that, as essential as our county attorney does. You know, none of this is popular. There's nothing popular about it. But it's the job we've been elected to do. It's the hard decisions that we have to make. And I think that we need to make them.
Then make a proposal. Make that hard decision that you've been elected to make, and quit doing a stump talk. We're not running for reelection now, and let's get on with doing the business.
We're not, but I think the information needs to be put out there for people.
On that note, before you get away from it, I think we should look at contracting that out when we do look at it. I don't think it's gonna happen this year.
Contracting
Contracting out a HR person.
won't work.
Yeah, it
Because
won't work.
if you're gonna do an HR person and try to contract it, the HR individual would be responsible for signing up and terminating all the paperwork and everything for new employees and terminated employees. And if they're only here whenever they wanna be here, based on contract, then that won't work.
It works all over town.
Yeah, this
And
is
then-
county.
And then too, we would
That's
have
where the
to,
issue.
if they work certain hours, and I don't know that it would fly with the IRS, because we're gonna be telling them when they gotta be here to sign up people, to terminate people. I'm not for sure the contract thing would work.
Well, I'm not
We've
either.
sort of kicked that around in the office, and
Yeah.
I'm not for sure that will
We
work.
were also looking at, had about 5 different names that was submitted to me that were willing to work part-time. And as an HR person, they were all qualified HR people, very qualified HR people, and had been in the field for 30, 40 years, but were retired and would come back in a part-time situation. But even at a part-time situation, you're talking about less hours, and they would be able to come and go.
Benefits. It's
Sure.
another thing I've looked at.
But that was something that's off the plate for right now with what we're looking at. But we've gotta go there, eventually.
Well, Judge, what do you propose we do? I mean, you kinda know my feelings, and I think anybody else's feelings. What do you propose we do?
The request came from the court, came from you commissioners to go back out to
Correct.
all of the departments and cut anything else that they had failed to cut in the past and try to get that rate down. They did that. Once we plugged that in to the proposed budget that's already been submitted, that Janice and I have worked diligently on at the same tax rate as the last 2 years, the 0.43712. We're able to balance the budget if we take that amount of money with the help of the departments that have cut their cost. And that will allow us to put that 200,000 back in contingency, and we'll have that emergency amount in there to help any department that gets in trouble at that point. That is my recommendation, that we go with where we are right now with the same tax rate as we were looking at last year, and not try to increase that. That's my recommendation.
I agree. I think we're flirting with danger right on the borderline of
I
being
believe we're,
successful, but
I believe we're flirting with danger too. You're absolutely right. But, it's Greg, Kermit.
it's your turn down there.
No, everybody's
So we're
been
looking at
good.
proposed 43712.
The same tax rate as it's been the last 2 years.
Mind you, we're gonna have a better or worse year next year.
I think we will. I think we will, but that's next year to look at. Now, you made the comment earlier about the housing growth. That has been good.
Yes, it has.
And hopefully, we will have enough new people moving into the area
To
with the
offset.
industry that we're putting on. I think that we were looking at $320,000 new growth this year. Maybe we'll have 500,000 or 600,000 next year. We can always hope, but
Yeah.
but right now, that's to not go up on the tax rate because people are hurting so bad right now. If we can leave the tax rate exactly where it is and not penalize anybody and balance our budget by cutting and cutting and cutting, which we've done, and then take the freeboard that we were able to get to and put it back into contingency for emergencies.
Can I go back and, if you'll indulge me for just a minute, I wanna go back over where everyone's cut. And my fear is that next year, we're gonna come back and ask these same people, same department heads, same elected officials to cut again. Y'all with me on this?
hopefully not.
I understand what you're saying, but next year is next year.
I understand next year's next year, but okay. For instance, the sheriff's office has cut a patrol car, okay? Are they gonna give up another one next year?
Hopefully, we'll be able to look at 3, and if with any,
You know what I mean?
just don't know.
I mean, the other cuts are very reasonable.
Right.
Very,
Did he cut
very
10% of his budget?
Sir?
Was his budget cut 10%?
Oh,
Absolutely
yeah,
not.
more than that.
Huh?
No.
Not personnel. When you're
No.
looking at the sheriff and the jail, and you're looking at the
It
biggest
wasn't
part.
10%.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
10% of the cuttable budget. You can't look at personnel, because you can't really affect that.
The capital outlay has stayed the same. I think he could give up a little more in capital I'm sorry, wrong line.
Well, I mean, I'm not sitting there picking on him,
Yeah.
but he brought the sheriff's department up.
I got
He did
word.
cut, they did cut something out of capital outlay. It's put the calculator on to get the exact.
I got word yesterday that the city of Lufkin, over the past couple of weeks, has had to lay off 30 individuals. They've gone down. And I can say this, the county has not gotten to that point yet. If at all,
But see, the thing about us
but
is.
we haven't had to go to personnel
Right,
yet in the
but, I
county.
mean, we had 7, 8 weeks there that we paid everybody to be off.
I know, I understand.
The sheriff's office
Oh,
cut 53,000 out of capital outlay.
Not the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office, the judge's office, all the emergency management, we never took off. We were there all the time. All law enforcement, the jail was there 24/7. Make clarification of that, that was the courthouse and the annex,
Right.
basically. And most of you guys were out working on roads, when, during that time. So, don't go there and let the public know that we
No, but I'm
shut
just
down,
saying, yeah.
because we never shut down.
No, My
Okay.
point being is I don't wanna raise these folks' taxes and they got laid off, just laid
Oh,
off
yeah,
there.
yeah, no, I don't either. Bob, you
Well,
still going through your stuff?
Well, I just went back over it again.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go back to my business, when I was in business. And we would have times like this that were lean. And at one time I had as many as 43 employees. The way you cut expenses rapidly is you reduce labor. And we haven't done that, and I don't want us to do that. Not in county government. But on top of that, we have to have funds to operate. And is it gonna be a lean year, this next year? Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna be a lean, I believe it's gonna be a lean year for everybody. We're gonna have to pay more attention to what we do. And when I say we, I'm talking about Angelina County, to what we do throughout the year to maintain what we currently have. And another note that I'd really like to point out, the employees of Angelina County are so essential. And we're going on year number 4, where, across the board, we're not, doing them
Wasn't
justice.
possible. Boy, I wanted to bad,
We
but this
did,
is not the
we
year.
all did, that's been something this entire court has worked on for 2 years in a row. As, Terry's original proposed idea of giving the employees a raise, maybe it doesn't have to be $1. Terry?
It was,
No,
it was a good proposal, but this
It
year
was.
it's not the year.
Right, no.
Yeah.
And I think, just from talking to, different employees and different departments around, everybody's just fortunate to have a job, and they're working hard to keep it. So I would say that we probably should stay with our current proposed rate, which is a tax increase, but I don't think any of us have a choice. And I'll leave my soapbox right there.
All right,
Yeah, that's,
gentlemen, input from everybody else. Are we in agreement to, at this point, stay with the .43712 and roll over the over expenditures, the total revenues at the end, back into contingency? To get the
Contingency.
contingency fund back up and then again, balance this new proposed budget?
Can I add
And
something
stick
else
with
on
it.
that soapbox about that contingency? I know these departments, especially these smaller departments, that have cut, like the extension office, and all, $3,355. That's a substantial cut. Those guys are gonna have to come back, through the year and
Well, keep in mind too, that their expenses have been down because of the fact that during
Right.
this COVID stuff,
right.
they've all been,
I was
been home.
true. I was headed in that direction
Right.
as well. Expenses have been down across the board, but I don't want some of these department heads to think that they can work outside their budget. They need to do their best to stay within their budget, and if we see a problem where we need to help, yeah, we'll help. But let's be penny wise, and our dollars will take care of themselves. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
You done said that once.
I did, but you gonna take my soapbox?
Going once, going twice.
He gonna take my soapbox away.
All right.
So, But yeah,
All right, guys. So, are we in agreement there?
I believe we are.
What y'all can't see is Janice is
Cartwright.
going once, going twice. All right.
I didn't hear Carmen.
I said, I believe we are.
You okay with
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. I heard it. It was,
Ms. Cordray, what you
it only progressed to this point right there.
I
So,
don't have an opinion on that.
he's got his mask on.
Don't
so,
want
yeah.
an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion.
Well, I mean, I've got an opinion, but I
Okay.
don't have a say in this, so.
What do you see anything that we should look at differently? That's an opinion you can
Yeah,
express.
I would like to hear the auditor's opinion
Good.
on this
Well,
at this time.
At this, I mean, I'm, just got to be aware that with the rate that we're talking about doing right now, which is fine, and rolling the additional back over into contingency, I just wanna remind you that we had a $543,000 contingency this year, and we're down to $76,000.
Right.
So we'll have 70 plus 142, about a little over $200,000 contingency this year, and it will automatically be hit by, if the grievance committee agrees to give the constables, it's gonna be hit right off the bat, $33,000
Yeah.
for salary. So, I mean, everybody's gonna have to keep that in mind. It won't be there just for the taking, because.
We'll cross
we won't
that
have
bridge
it,
when,
so.
when we have to, but for right now, I would really like to get a budget proposed where the taxpayers know kind of where they are, and we can go ahead and go forward with our, you know, what might happen, or what probably is gonna happen, we really don't know. It's the future, so.
Well, I agree we move forward with this proposed budget
Okay.
as presented. Make sure I clarify which proposed budget we're doing is the .43712 as proposed with the budget cuts, and that's gonna leave,
$70,447.
let me get to the bottom. But yeah, with that being transferred into contingency fund, and that, well, and that's gonna leave road and bridge tax rate at 0.06 cents.
Yes, that is correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct. Gentlemen?
Do we need a motion to do that?
No, we do not
No,
vote.
it's just agreement,
We don't
basically.
vote.
This is a workshop,
Yeah.
so
No
we
vote.
just need a consensus of opinion so we can go forward.
Sounds like you got it.
And at this point, then we'll go ahead and set up, we'll have a completed budget to work on, and we can go ahead and start setting up for our, go ahead and get our salary stuff out, posted in the paper, and get everything else done that we have to do
Does that
every
mean the
year to let
notices
everybody
go
know.
out to the prospective grievance?
The salaries?
I've already sent out the salary.
Already sent that?
That's
It's
already
already been
out.
done? Okay.
Yes, that's already been done.
Okay.
And actually, 2 days ago,
They went out, yes, Tuesday.
okay, went out Tuesday afternoon, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we should know something by Monday.
By Monday? Okay.
They've got 5 days to actually file.
Respond? Yeah.
Respond,
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
So-
so I need to be sure, because I'll have to get the certified salary schedule ready. So all of these changes, these pay increases and et cetera that are included in this, y'all are in agreement with.
It's
Am I on the
the
wrong
way it
page?
is now. Yeah, we're talking about the changes. the
Oh,
salary.
okay, got you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the tax assessor collector pay raises and, Commissioner Cheshire's pay raises, and then, of course, the the mandated raises. I just wanna be sure that everybody's, cause I'm gonna clean this thing up and get away, get all the
Okay.
yellow highlights and all that kinda stuff off.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
My deleted operator,
So your deleted operator position is deleted,
deleted,
and then the guys
yes.
get the raise.
Okay. So everybody understands. Any more questions? Obviously
Think we're
not,
good.
it's awfully quiet.
It did get quiet, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. If we don't need to come back and talk more about this afternoon, then I think it'd probably be a good idea to adjourn. I think we have a consensus.
We probably should close this one in prayer. Lord help us out over the next year.
Well, there is gonna be a lot of help for us, I guarantee you. There has been a lot of the ministerial alliance here in Lufkin has been helping us a lot. There's been a lot of prayers going out for us to get this worked out.
Good. We could use it.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So do we need to,
Oh,
I mean, you're gonna clean all that up, are you gonna send it back out? Do we need to meet again after that, or
No, it's gonna be this.
what we're looking at?
It's gonna be this without the highlighted areas, and it's gonna be this with the 70,447 into
Right,
contingency.
This is
But
what
that's
they're
it.
currently making, and this is.
So we're gonna go with
So
the,
it'll be at the 41.
well, y'all gonna go with the same rate we got this year, correct?
Same tax rate.
So it's not a tax rate of a hike.
It's not an
But
increase
the
in the
people of
tax rate.
Angelina County will be paying higher taxes.
$838,000 more in taxes.
Okay.
Overall, the taxes that come into the county are going to be, there's gonna be more revenue, exactly. And that's very clearly stated in all these. It's like .474 was one of the last comments increase in revenue from last year. Okay?
Sure.
Okay? Everybody?
All right,
Motion
Motion?
to adjourn.
second it.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. May I have one of those too? Hand it to me, cause I don't want to COVID you. Okay, thank you. All right, we have, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion does pass. We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.